All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Doctor Who with a question mark, stupid name. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is my co host, Jack. How are you, JP?
I'm all good, thank you. How about yourself, Josh?
I'm very good. Thank you, mate. I'm very good. We've just knocked back a two-parter. We're going to do it all in one, the Doctor Dances and the Unquiet Dead. Just before we jump in, just thanks to everybody that's engaging with us on the socials as usual. We really appreciate it. We're watching our likes go up every week. We're watching our listens go up every week. Our followers, TikTok's still booming. We've now started a fantasy football league, which I know nothing about or how to do or anything. So maybe Jack, you could shed a bit more light on that.
Yeah, no, of course. So some of you guys, today is recording as of the 9th of August. By the way, happy Doctor Who Podcast Day 2023.
Oh yes,
We have
yes.
started. Yeah, I know the best day to record. We have started just to celebrate the start of the Premier League. We're not sure if you guys, if it's something you guys would be interested in, but if you are, check out TikTok, check out Instagram, check out Twitter or X as it's now called. We've started a fantasy football league, just as a bit of a kind of a community thing. Myself, Josh, and Brad, we're all in there, and we have said that the winner of the fantasy league at the end of next year, kind of this season, we will offer them the chance to appear as a guest on the podcast.
Yep.
So, as I said, check out the social medias for the details and the link and how to join the league. Please do try and make the funniest Doctor Who name. It doesn't have to necessarily be Doctor Who relevant, but we've made it as a Doctor Who themed league. And also for you very, 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 very sharp-eared listeners, you may have just spotted the first kind of test that we actually put in this podcast, where Josh actually said that we're reviewing the Unquite Dead instead of the Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. So
Oh,
grade
fucking
A
hell,
if
yeah.
you call
Yeah,
that.
my notes are miles off. Good pickup, to be fair. Yeah, I put Dr. Dances and I quite
Look,
did. Yeah,
one
whoops.
of us one of us is recording at 7:30 in the evening, and one of us is recording at 10:30. I'll let you guess
Yeah,
which one's
it's gonna
which.
be an interesting recording session. But yeah, thanks guys. Get involved in the fantasy football league. It is, yes, as you mentioned as well. It's Doctor Who podcast day. We actually missed out on the round table because well, I was asleep. So yeah, we
And
missed
I
out on
was
that, but
working.
and you were working. But yeah, we released a bonus episode. We recorded with Raquel. That went live today. So we hope you guys like that. We'll definitely be looking at getting more guests on, obviously, with the winner of the stupid fantasy football thing that we're doing now. But anyway, enough of that, JP. What did you think of Dr. Dances and The Empty Child?
Interesting. I've got to say, I actually think that the Empty Child was better than the Doctor Dances. Well,
Which
kind
one's
of.
which?
So the Empty Child's the first episode, episode 9,
Yeah.
and the Doctor Dances is episode 10.
And you preferred the first one?
Preferred the first one, but I actually there was a certain thing I really really liked about the Doctor Dances that I thought actually outdid the episode 9.
Was it all the
Really
casual
really
sex
weird.
references?
Not really. Well, kind of. I guess it was the whole
Yeah.
kind of theme of the Doctor dancing. I just really like. I know it's in the title, but I just really liked it. It was yeah. We'll get there when we get there. But no, two very very interesting episodes combined together to make a very good story. I'm not sure why they did a two-parter in the middle of. Well, I say kind of in the middle of the the season. I know we're getting towards the end of the season, but I'm not sure why they put a two-parter here. Any insight at all on that, or?
No, nothing to be fair. I mean, I've said it a couple of times throughout this podcast. I don't think there's enough story for these two parters. I really don't. Episode like the first one, the empty
Empty
child.
Child?
My God, I found that quite a slog. To be fair, I did normally I do these back to back as well. I'll just bang out the two parters. I had to wait a day. I was like, I can't. I just don't have the attention span for it. Like, so I mean, I don't know why they put the two parter in. I think, as I mentioned last week, this is like regarded as one of the best Doctor Who stories of all
Yeah.
time. It's written by Steven Moffat, who is, or who goes on, he writes a numerous amount of stories over the next couple of seasons. Then he takes over from Russell as the showrunner. And I'm just going to say, fuck me, is it a very Moffat-y episode? I mean, you haven't experienced this yet, but all of the gay references throughout it is very Moffat and very, very strange. It's a very gay episode. I don't mean that negatively. There's a lot of homosexual and pansexual things littered throughout it. And Moffat has this sort of witty, fast-paced dialogue. And I was just like, my God, like we should have seen this coming. There's one scene in particular we'll talk about later that's just I was just sat there thinking, oh my God, this is exactly like how every single episode plays out after a few series. So very Moffat-y. But yeah, do you want to jump in with your notes, JP? Like initial reactions, where do you want to start, mate?
No, let's just go chronologically. I think that's the best way to do this.
Do it.
Because I mean, I get what you're saying about there. It does feel like they did stretch out the story. I think that's probably why I preferred the first episode to the second episode, because it felt like there was too much story for one episode, but not quite enough for two, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, but let's jump in kind of chronologically. So the very, very first note that I've put on there is mauve is the universally recognized color for danger, and red is camp. I mean, I just yeah, you know what? When I was watching Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and they
Yes.
make a point of saying about people go on red. You
Oh
know,
yeah, the
actually
traffic
thinking
light
about it,
thing. Yeah.
the traffic lights. Yeah, thinking about it, actually, why is red our sign for danger? You know,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
mean,
fire and everything, but like it was just one of those things that just caught me off guard so early in the, kind of in the episode. I was just like, huh, actually, that's a fair point. What is there to stop mauve being the color for danger? I mean, all right, red alert sounds a lot more, it rolls off the tongue a bit better and
over
that, but
that.
yeah, it just doesn't roll. But like, still though, I was just like, huh, okay, fair enough.
No, you're right. And that is like again, I'm gonna probably bring this up with every single note, but that's an exceptionally Moffat thing to do is to take something that is absolutely normal and just put this twist on it. And yeah, fair play. It does make sense. Like maybe it is a really localized thing that we just have decided that red is bad, whereas red, and you could argue red is the is the color of love, and it's a warming color, and it's an embracing
Hmm.
color. Like yeah, you're right. We have red blood flowing through our bodies. Why is it considered dangerous? But yeah, flipping that very, very Moffatty. Maybe I'm tainted by all of the Moffat twists that he puts in his future things because I was like, oh, did you have to do that? Does it matter? Like why? Mauve, red. What color is mauve? Like purple.
Yeah, it's like a purpley color.
Basically red anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Is it? I mean, you are colorblind in
I
fairness.
am colorblind in fairness. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But then, yeah, and then to say red is camp as well. Like, it fascinates me because Russell is homosexual and Stephen Moffat is straight and he's married. And but it's like he's a closeted homosexual. There's so many. And again, I'm not saying this in a negative way, not at all. I'm just fascinated at how obsessed he is with littering through this. And I'm putting this in air quotes, but this woke agenda because this is quite a woke episode with Captain Jack and you've got the person whose house it is when he's hiding in the bunker and then he's having an affair with the butcher like it's littered throughout and the military general or
Yeah.
whatever it is maybe I don't know man it's just threw me I was just like wow but it's very Moffat but very woke.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, a lot of my notes would just be laughing at kind of comments that were, made throughout the episode, which just again caught me off guard. And now that makes sense actually. Kind of listen what you were saying there about the way that Stephen Moffat actually writes and everything. Like that actually makes sense. He writes stuff to just kind of make you think twice about things,
Yeah, well
and
that's Moffat in a nutshell, absolutely.
yeah, which I really like. I really like. Now, talking of kind of looking at things in a different perspective, one of the first things that I kind of clocked with the doctor is the doctor saying everything's totally fine, and there's just explosions just going off all in the TARDIS, which again just made me chuckle. I was just like, it's. I know the doctor isn't British. He's not even from Earth, but that's such a British thing to be doing. When someone asks you when you're at work and someone says, "Oh, how you doing?" You're like, "Yeah, all good, mate."
Yeah,
There's
even
no
though the
like
world
your
is
house
crumbling around.
literally could have like burnt down. You know, World War III could be at the door. The plague could be in town. You just like, yeah, not bad, mate. How about yourself? I just loved it. I was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I see that. I see that. But
Is that also a sort of toxic masculinity trait as well? I think, right? It'd be interesting to get a
I
female's
don't know
perspective on that
really.
because I think it
Yeah.
is. I think it is, especially with regards to a vehicle as well. It's the whole thing like a man won't stop and ask for directions; they'll just plow through. But like,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I've had some dodgy cars over the years, and I've been like, "Oh, the window's falling down. Yeah, it's fine. I'll just hold it up. It's fine. It doesn't
I know
matter.
because
It's
I had to
raining
because
now."
I yeah, I know because your one of your cars burnt my foot while I was sitting in it through an exposed wire that we found in the footwell.
Yeah, yeah. I had a little fuse hanging out of the glove compartment on the passenger
Yeah,
seat.
it just
But
had a
again,
bare wire, and I
if
was
you
just like,
don't
yeah,
touch it, it's fine.
I know. I mean, what's a car journey if you don't set your foot alight once? You know, it's
It
just
did melt your shoe, didn't it? That was absolutely ridiculous.
it became a limited edition trainer. You know, there was no other trainer like it.
Exactly. Yeah. But again,
But yeah,
it was fine. Whereas, my girlfriend Laura, if that had happened in her car, she'd be like, no, I'm taking it to the shop immediately. Like, there's no way that she would just power on through that. So that's
mm,
just another sort of interested sort of facet. Is it toxic
yeah,
masculinity? Is it Britishness? I don't know. But you're right.
no,
Yeah. Saying it's
exactly,
fine when
exactly.
the world is crumbling.
So, of course, it did make me laugh because they're chasing what we find out to be a bit of kind of just Well, it's not garbage actually. It's an ambulance, but at the time you're not sure what it is and everything like that. And it just really made me laugh. It reminded me of kind of like a GTA police chase, 5 star, where he's just in the spaceship is just in front of the TARDIS, and the TARDIS is struggling to keep up, and it's just like I mean, we don't get it really in the UK where you get like a live police chase. In America, it's a thing, isn't it, where they follow
Yeah.
a police
Yeah.
chase with a helicopter. We don't get that of it, but it kind of almost felt a bit like that. You're waiting to see what happens, and then suddenly it goes out, and you're like, right, where's it gone? What's it done? And you're just waiting when the Doctor and Rose kind of come into London. You're like, right, where is it? Are we going to see it? Are we not? It just adds to that little bit of tension, which I quite liked actually. Now talking to Rose. Do you reckon Rose had seen the Spice Girls?
I mean, it's such a funny and on the nose sort of costume change as well. Like, she wouldn't have worn it in any other episode unless she was going to be dangled in the Blitz. Like,
Oh yeah, for sure. And the funny thing is because the Doctor actually makes a comment, funny enough, in episode 3 about, oh, I can't believe you're wearing that, as if to say, you're not going to blend in, and then she's wearing this, kind of big old Union Jack t-shirt, which I like, by the way. I think it's a cool looking t-shirt, but it was just so like, as you say, just on the nose, which really really made me chuckle.
yeah, no, yeah, she did look quite fit in this. She was strangely sort of, I was weirdly attracted to her in this episode. But yeah, Union Jack t-shirt, brilliant, iconic look as well. Absolutely iconic look.
Yeah. Hey, look, it worked for the Spice Girls. It worked for Doctor Who. You know, that's
Gonna
it. It
go and
works
buy
for everyone. Just
myself one.
like
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say, if you got to make a statement at work or at home or wherever you want to make a statement, just go buy yourself a big old Union Jack dress or t-shirt and let the lights come rolling in. Um, I'm glad the psychic paper was back. I love the psychic paper.
Oh yeah, it does come back, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It comes
I
back
just
twice in this episode, actually.
it does actually, yes, because it also comes back with Captain Jack as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I like that. I
Yeah,
like that whole scene of him in the what would you call it? The sort of underground smoking club, I think. My first
that's just a
reaction
pub.
there, well, I guess so, but is it? Yeah, I guess so actually, but like a Gatsby era sort of pub. But like, I was thrown because again, you never see people smoke on the telly anymore. I know Netflix
Yeah.
released a rule, or maybe a law was put in place on them where like you're only allowed a certain amount of cigarettes per series or per stream nowadays
Mhm.
or something like that, and it has to be like era dependent as well. But I was like, oh shit, and they're like proper smokers as well. It's not even none of that fake shit. Like, I was like, oh, never see this. This is
Yeah.
what a little.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because again, I can't remember when they brought in the ban for indoor smoking, but of course, up until then, all right, people knew that smoking was bad, but it was still acceptable to smoke indoors,
Yeah,
and
exactly,
it was just
exactly.
seen as just something you did in the pub. That was it. You just drank and you smoke, and that was it. I mean, I still can't get over the fact that people used to be out smoking aeroplanes, but that's
I know, it's
different.
mad, isn't it?
Oh,
It's
don't.
absolutely mad.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I get what you mean, especially on the BBC as well. But then, then again, you look at, kind of Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah,
David Jason, or Sir David Jason, always had a cigar because that was part of his character. And I've got
yeah,
no
exactly.
idea if Sir David Jason actually, just kind of between takes and everything, actually smoked the cigar, but that was part of the character. And I know that nowadays, I mean, Cillian Murphy had an interesting because, of course, he just seems to play a smoker, doesn't he, Cillian
He
Murphy?
does, yeah. Yeah, to
But
be
bar
fair.
probably Scarecrow, Batman Begins, or all of Batman films. He doesn't, he played oh, who was the guy's name in Peaky Blinders he played? I can't remember now.
Oh, I don't know. I've never actually seen it. Oh, actually, that's a
Uh,
lie. I started watching episode one, and I swear to God, could not understand a word they were saying. I had to put subtitles on, and then I was just about getting it, but I couldn't distinguish between who was talking, so I couldn't commit to
to
it.
to any of our Midlands viewers or listeners, we're very sorry that Josh can't understand you.
Yeah,
Please do
write
send him
in, but
voice.
don't leave a voice
Yeah,
note.
please leave all the voice notes in the world. And yeah, no, I can't remember who he plays. And then of course he was playing in Oppenheimer as well, and and everything like that. But I remember I saw an article online, and he was like, "I'm done playing smokers." He's like, I smoke." It's like it's really weird. It's like herbal things. They actually do smoke, but it's just like, I don't know, smoking paper or something. But he's like,
All
these
right,
can't
that's
be
quite cool.
healthy. Yeah,
No,
but nah, I
exactly.
don't
Yeah.
know,
Just a little
mate.
tangent. We've got this guy at work, Renz. He's Filipino, and this one day he just sent me like four voice notes, and then he came up to me and was like, "Bro, can you translate? I can't understand a word she's saying." And it was just the most English accent you've ever heard. He was like, "I just can't comprehend it." So now I get like three or four voice notes from him a day. They're like, "Would you mind just translating this for me, please?" I'm like, "Yes, okay." This is how I feel with the Birmingham accent.
You, I was gonna say you are the bloke with the dog in Hot Fuzz. That's it. You're literally just there at work. Oh, we don't need the dog. It's not the dog we need. It's just Josh we need instead.
But
But
that is what all Birmingham, well, that's what all Brummies sound like to me. They just sound like that old man from Hot Fuzz.
you've been out of the country too long, man. You need to come back.
um.
Oh dear.
Anyway, so yeah, psychic paper comes back, and then so he says, "I'm looking for something that's fallen from the sky." Probably made a loud bang, and everyone starts laughing. I thought, oh, would people be laughing at that whilst the blitz is happening? Do you think?
Absolutely yes.
You reckon?
Yeah, but it's the British spirit, mate. It is just British spirit.
You don't think
Like
it's a bit
I
like
just
making a Holocaust joke as the Jews go in the shower?
no, because that is different. It's something it's a whole misery thing. Like a kind of a British thing. Like you get caught in the rain without an umbrella or a coat, and you turn around to the bloke at the bus stop next to you that's waiting in the pouring rain. You go, "Great weather for ducks, isn't it, mate?" And then you have a little chuckle, and then you just carry
No,
on with your day.
I
It's a
know what
British
that
thing. It's
is.
just
And you've never done that before either.
no, because I didn't live through World War Two, but it's that British kind of spirit, and I mean, I'm trying to think of an example of something I've actually done. Um, I don't know really. There's been loads of stuff that you just well, actually, I could think of one. I'll tell you off air, but it just yeah, it's just a British spirit that you kind of you make a joke of the situation, you make light of it, and it makes the situation just a little bit more bearable, which I really like. And there's a line later on in the episode where the doctor says about this damp little island stands up to Hitler, and it's just like
Oh
it's
yeah,
the
yeah, that
whole
was a cool bit to be
British,
fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's just the British spirit, and of course that's then kind of grown on in episode two as well, where Rose is um, talking later in episode two. But the interesting thing, there are two distinct ways of going about kind of solving a situation. You've got the way that the doctor did it, and then the way that Rose went to deal with it.
In what
Because,
sense?
well, the doctor just says, "I'm going to ask around." Because, of course, the doctor doesn't
Oh
know
yeah.
where he is or anything like that. But the doctor just says, "I'll just ask." Of course, he doesn't know that he's in World War Two and things are falling from the sky the entire time. But let's be real, if he landed today and something fell from the sky, you'd be pretty sure that people would know about it and would be able to
Oh yeah,
point you in the right
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
direction. And it was only just an inconvenience that they ended up in the 1941. But a very interesting line that came up again. Rose says that's not very Spock.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, here there's a lot of Star Trek references in this. You know
Yeah.
the nano genes that were in it. They
Uh-huh.
were originally
Yep.
supposed to be called nanites, but that got
Yep.
blocked because it was either a thing in Star Trek or it was too similar to a thing in Star Trek. So they had to change it to
Gotcha.
nano genes. But I love that whole
Wow.
sort of comparison between. I think this is why I prefer the second episode to the first. Is because that dynamic between Jack and the Doctor, which is alluded to in that first episode, where Rose is comparing them as old fashioned, let's go around talking and finding out, compared to Jack's, let's scan for alien tech. All of that,
Mhm.
that's really fascinating. I absolutely love that. And I also love the fact that that's quite American versus Britain as well, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. And that is kind of built on later, in episode two, like in the second episode with the whole what do you call it? A sonic, the sonic gun.
Sonic Blaster versus Sonic
Sonic
Screwdriver. Yeah, and
blaster.
and
Yeah,
the Doctor's like embarrassed to admit it's called the Sonic Screwdriver. Fucking brilliant.
yeah, which I really really like. But but yeah,
So Cap,
so but
yeah, that whole interaction with Jack and the Doctor is fucking awesome. And without spoiling anything, Jack may or may not interact with some future Doctors, and he's known like his relationship with one other Doctor is sort of like the relationship. But I think people forget how good Jack and the Doctor are, specifically in that second episode when they're literally dick measuring with like the screwdriver and the blaster, and then there's a banana. That's like I
yeah,
was cracking up through that. It was absolutely brilliant.
well, it was interesting because I actually thought when he was first introduced, um, I was like, oh, he seems actually a bit of a dodge, kind of looking at the next episode. And this I said on the podcast, didn't I? On air, I said, oh, it looks like another, is that another Doctor? And I'm like, oh, it could be
Yeah.
another Doctor. And then kind of the first couple of lines of dialect and everything like that, I'm like, actually, he seems like a bit of a dodgy guy. And then of course he has the conversation with Rose and they stand on top of the spaceship. And then I'm like, oh no, actually he seems like an all right guy. He seems like a genuine kind of type. And then it's just he betrays me, the audience, Rose, the Doctor, and I'm like, damn dude, but he redeems himself at the end.
He
So,
redeems himself
all
at the end. Yeah. I actually had a note sort of halfway through that second episode. I was like, another bad companion. We've got another bad companion. And I couldn't remember how the episode ended, but obviously know that Jack forms a relationship with the Doctor. And I was like, again, why does the Doctor forgive Jack? Like, what he's so flip floppy. But then I was like, okay, it's because Jack redeems himself at the end. Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talking of
that's it.
your second Doctor theory, though, did you shit yourself a little bit at the bit where Nancy goes to the Doctor, go into that hospital and speak with the Doctor? Did you?
I
Did you?
know. Oh my
Mate, even
goodness.
I was watching. I thought, I bet Jack's so gassed right now.
I was like, oh no. I was like, I've called it. I've called it. I just, I've, oh, because again, like after that happened, like kind of after the conversation where it turns out that Captain Jack isn't actually a true like time traveler and everything like that. I was like, oh, and then she's just like, yeah, go to the hospital and talk to the doctor. And I was like, wait a minute, oh, hold on a minute. But yeah, a couple of notes though, just going back to just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before Rose, of course, meets Captain Jack. Um, I mean, of course, we get the first look of the child where she's like where the child's up on the rooftop,
Creepy
and
as
of course,
fuck.
oh man, I tell you what, I gotta say, he's a very as a kid that would have terrified you. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
exactly.
creepy
Yeah.
enough with the gas mask and everything like that, but I mean, damn, it's
But just
that's
quickly, what is that child doing on that rooftop? That doesn't make
looking for
any
his mum.
narrative sense. But he knows how to find Nancy, though.
No, he's looking for her. He can't find. He's trying to locate her, but what do you do when you're looking for something? Well, you go to the high ground and you look around.
He's not Obi-Wan Kenobi, for fuck's sake. He doesn't know
But
this. This
he's a
is
smart kid. He's a smart kid.
he's a fucking moron. But anyway, go on.
So yeah, so that was it. And then of course Rose decides to climb up a barrage balloon to try and get to the kid. I mean, that was my reaction as well because one thing is barrage balloons do not have or did not have rope on them. It was wire because the whole point of the barrage balloon was to stop a dive bomber by going down because it would cut its wings with the riot. Just that really hurts me. That did.
Yeah, it's just
And
fucking
why would you
nonsense.
climb
And
up a
do you
tower,
not just
Shalom?
look up?
Just oh dear. And I mean, we are, I just put the thing because again, I've recently rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy, and I just put I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. It's just where she's going up.
But
I
again, that
was
bit
just
is
like,
such nonsense. And then again, okay. I did like the fact that her gymnastics came back from episode one. I thought that was quite
gymnastics.
a good.
It wasn't gymnastics, it was superhuman ability. She was up there for like
Yeah,
an hour.
but that's a good callback to when she was swinging on the axe. Okay, I was like, yeah, this is far fetched, but at least they've laid some groundwork for this. Like now, it makes sense why that scene's in the first episode. But yeah, I mean, she climbs up this rope, which shouldn't be a rope. She doesn't look up and see that it's clearly attached to a blimp. She then
Yep,
it then just untethers itself because
yep,
it just
as
does.
it does. Yeah,
And
that's
then
yeah.
all of it, like literally a second later, she's then fucking, higher than Big Ben and St. Paul's Cathedral, and she's floating around. And oh god, it's moments like that I think stay in my head and let these episodes down for me.
I don't know. I mean, again, it's something that irked me, but I wouldn't have said it was something that would have completely ruined the episode. I don't think I've had, not that I can think of anywhere. Maybe if listed back, I probably have had something that kind of the ending of the episode of Dalek, but I don't think I've had something like that that's ruined an episode for me yet. All right, it's an annoyance, but it's not something that I would consider, kind of the be all and the end all. You know what I mean?
No,
But
fair enough,
although
fair enough.
saying that, Rose wasn't the person that took the biggest risk there and then. The Doctor was, because he picked up a random cat in an alleyway that he found in World War II and did not get clawed to death. I mean, fair play to him because I love cats and I like to think the cats like me, but I would not pick up a random cat. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fair play. That's pretty brave for the Doctor there. The
I was
bravest man in London.
Yeah, I got tricked by a cat just the other day. It came up, sort of rubbed against me. What clearly wanted a rub just to get out on the street. So I'm rubbing its
Hmm.
back, rubbing its back. It rolls over and it's like, go for the belly,
Oh,
go for the belly, go for the belly. Rookie mistake. I went for the belly and then my hand came up and it'll be like I'd put it in a shredder, the little shit. So I had to kick him
yep.
into the road
Hey.
and watch him get run over.
Oh,
I'm joking.
that's
That's not what
honestly
happened.
that. God, that story took a turn. I just felt us lose like 10 followers just there
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then,
yeah. I've
just
got to
like that.
clarify that that was a joke. Otherwise, I will get death threats.
um, Talking of death threats, interesting that the Doctor, of course, Nancy comes up to the Doctor. Doctor goes back to the TARDIS. He's like, "Oh, Rose is gone, everything like that. I'll wait for her and do that." And the phone on the outside starts ringing.
Yeah,
And of
first
course,
time in
Nancy,
Doctor Who history, apparently.
really interesting, interesting. I mean, it would make sense because it's technically not connected to the world that it's in. It's connected to the TARDIS, but not through the ground, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Nancy says, "Don't answer that." And what I really liked about the Doctor there and then is the Doctor asks why. He doesn't just go, "Well, I'm the Doctor. I've been to everywhere and I've been more places than you can ever have been. You're in 1941. You're not going to know anything about technology. I'm answering it." He asks her why because he uses her experience and her knowledge of the time there and then.
Yes, exactly.
And I like that.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
it's
And
like having yeah, it's like having a tour guide. If you ever go to a place that you don't know, or you see people all the time when they go up to Everest or anything like that, they'll always use a Sherpa that knows the local area and has the local knowledge. And I
yeah.
just really like that. It's instead of thinking about a place and having local knowledge, it's time as well. Time as a which was a really, really interesting point, and I really, really like that for kind of character progression of the Doctor.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's the big difference between him and Jack is he's going around and using this local knowledge, and Jack is not. And I think that's most evidence when he steals the ambulance and he's like, "Oh, it was empty. I swear it was empty. It's not me." And then the doctor's like,
Hmm.
"No, it's got the nanogenes in it. You stupid twat! Like, what are you
Yeah,
doing?" And if he'd have just asked around, like the doctor would have, he would have known that.
exactly. Now, talking of stupid twats, of course, we then
But
cut
Brad's
to
not joined this
Cat.
episode.
Yeah, yeah. We then cut to Captain Jack, of course, in what I'm assuming is some kind of officers' mess hall in London. Um,
Oh, with
I
the
mean,
best opening line of any character.
just excellent bottom.
I love it. I love it.
Just, I mean, that's incredible. I'm not sure. I mean, I get it that they kind of not retcon it, but they kind of go back and show that he just says that about everyone. But would that have, I mean, would that have aired nowadays?
Yeah, very
Would
good
that have made
question.
it out? Would that have made it out of the writing room? Is the question.
I don't know. I really, really don't know. And listen, like I love Captain Jack as a character. There's a few behind the scenes. John Barrowman, the actor, has recently been cancelled. Um, so
Oh, is that
whatever.
him?
That's him. Yeah, whatever. Let
Oh,
him do him behind the scenes. Captain Jack is a fucking awesome character. Yeah, apparently he's been cancelled recently because he was like he'd run around the set and he'd moon the other actors and he'd be really flirty with the other doctors and so he's been cancelled retrospectively. But he's a fucking brilliant character and he's a flirt. And I don't know if he would get away with it nowadays, to be fair. But that's like
I mean,
that's happening on
definitely
and
not
off
that.
scenes.
Yeah, I
No,
was
but
gonna say
that's what I
definitely
mean. Like,
offset.
yeah, but even the on-screen stuff, the excellent bottom, which is in a kid show, someone is saying nice ass. Like that is what's happening.
Oh
There.
yeah,
That's a fact.
yeah.
It wouldn't happen nowadays. Like,
No, I
it's
just
a
yeah,
different time. Different time.
and I get that they kind of I get why they put it in because they want to show that he's a bit of a playboy, flies by the seat of his pants, tally ho chaps, I'm just gonna do whatever. Which I get, but I just feel like there was probably other ways they could have shown that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I just thought it was funny, and as I said, they kind of retconned it further down the line with him, kind of just flirting with everything that moves, really, which I
Yeah,
just
exactly. I love it.
I'm not saying it makes not saying it makes it acceptable, but still, just it was just kind of like you could tell that people were getting ready to go. Oh well, you've not made it. Wait a minute, he's doing it for everything. So it just, I don't know. It's just character development, but I'm not sure it's character development that maybe would have flown now. But I mean, look, who knows? Who knows? It made me laugh anyway. Um, so of course we then go to Nancy, Nancy and the kids,
Yeah,
and I mean, she gets in every nook and cranny in the house, doesn't she? I mean, my God,
she's
like she's playing Skyrim. She just goes in that house, and that house is emptied. Like,
she
I
loots
mean,
the
fair play.
shit out of that house. Yeah, exactly. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, she really does. Yeah. So yeah, Nancy, what do you think of her as a character?
interesting. There is a point I made kind of later in, I think it was episode 2, actually. It was why I never get this. I know, well, I do get it because it kind of it drags out the story a little bit and adds a bit of tension. But why do characters never tell the full story?
Oh, mate, don't. It's so annoying. I call it a post-it problem where everything could be resolved if you just wrote a little note on a post-it, and that would solve everything.
Yeah,
Like it's so infuriating. Did you see the twist coming?
I kind of did, but then I kind of didn't. Because to me, I don't know if this is where I'm just getting old now. I'm old at the ripe old age of 25, but
Yeah.
I didn't think she looked old enough to be a mum.
Yeah, well, there you go. She was actually at the time of recording, she was 20. So technically, yeah, she was old enough to be a mum.
Would Well, no, because the kid. Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, actually, no,
Yeah, the
technically,
kid
yeah.
was 5.
But
The kid was 4 or 5.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it just, yeah, I just that was the only thing that threw me off. I was just like, oh no, she's far too young. She looked like, to me, she almost looked like Wendy out of Peter Pan. The kind of the older sister that's in charge because she's older and she's more sensible, a little bit more experienced, that kind of thing, rather than oh, she's an actual mum. Like, and it was an interesting plot. Yeah, it was an interesting twist, to be honest.
Yeah,
That
again, very
I,
Moffat. I mean, she's a good
yeah.
character. I don't really have too much to say about her. Like, she's there for the plot. That's pretty much it.
Mm,
She's again, mate, I'm coming back to it, but she's a very Moffat character. There's that moment where she gets caught raiding the house, and that
yep.
entire scene, my God, like just her flipping it, her witty remarks, him then turning out to be the one that was gay. Like, that is so Steven Moffat. It is absolutely unbelievable. Like, if you want a hint as to what happens in Moffat and Peter Capaldi, Peter Capaldi's era, it's that scene. Like, that is the most Moffat scene. We've got to try and remember that when we get round to it, because
Hmm.
that scene happens about 10 times per episode in Steven Moffat's era.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. It was interesting. Um, Almost as interesting as they're all sat around the table, right? All the children are sat around the table listening while the air raid
Are
is
you
going
going to
on,
talk
right?
about Batman Doctor?
A Batman Doctor. We need to bring up Batman Doctor because you are, you're a child. You sat there. You're in the middle of an air raid, so you got to keep an eye out anyway because you're in someone else's house. You're all sat around a table, so technically you should have a 360-degree view. And Batman, sorry, the Doctor manages to just sneak up on the table, no noise whatsoever. No child goes, "Hold on a minute, who's this man?" I mean, fair play. Maybe he was on the ceiling. He just
I
dropped
don't,
down
yeah.
from the ceiling.
Yeah, again, it's just little things like that. This episode is not as good as everybody says it is, I don't think. But
Oh, I don't know though. He made up for it with his absolutely incredible drawing of the. I just oh mate, it reminded me. Do you remember that kind of phase that everyone went through with? Was it called Draw with Friends? You know, where
oh
you
yeah,
had
yeah, 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 yeah.
you were given a thing, and then it was like, oh, you have to draw this, and you got points, and you got more points for the quicker they guessed it. Did you ever play that with a randomer online? Because that
And
was
it was just
pretty
shit.
much that was it. That it was just like, what's this? And you're just like, I've got no
And it turns
idea.
out that's a fucking church or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? I
Oh
actually
yeah.
really like that moment because I was genuinely expecting him to pull up this like artist's rendered because it
Hmm.
happens all the time in movies. Someone scribbles something down and then it's like, I think there's a great one in Mission Impossible where Tom Cruise sees this guy for like 10 seconds, sketches him on biro on his hand, shows it to his colleague, and he's like, the colleague goes like, "Yes, I know exactly who that is." And I'm like, oh, it just wouldn't happen. So I kind of loved that this was like a shitty rudimental sketch. Like, yeah, I was
Yeah.
all for that.
No, it was quite funny. Again, I'm assuming this is very Moffat. Catches you off guard, as you say. You're expecting the Doctor to come up with some Picasso-esque drawing, and it's just like something that's been scribbled on the back of a napkin,
Yeah,
somewhere.
like just the least helpful thing in the world.
Yeah, no, that's it. A very polite devil child. Got to say, knock him first. I think that more horror films should take note, and they should
Oh
probably knock
yeah,
before they give you a jump scare or something like that, just to let them know, let you know that they're coming and
yeah,
everything
exactly.
like
It's
that.
got manners. It's a well raised little child.
Why I didn't understand why the child knocked. I just
Yeah,
it didn't
yeah.
make sense to what it was there. You just was expecting it to just try the door. It's locked. Move on.
But I mean, if he can make unplugged radios and phones that aren't phones work, and I'm pretty sure he's the one that untethers the barge or the blimp or whatever it is, like, surely he can unlock that door. And we see him punch through a wall later on
Oh,
in
oh
episode
yeah, no,
two.
I made a note of that. Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely made a note of that. Um, yeah, the other thing that really, really made me chuckle in the first of the two episodes was I think it's Nancy that says about big ears and big nose.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets quite a beating in this episode, or in this series, to be fair. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Which just made me think of the Michael Scott thing where he just goes boom, roasted.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like I just really just it just made me chuckle. There you go, Brad. If you're listening, that is one for TikTok right there. You can use the Michael Scott thing. In fact, he
There you
probably
go.
will use that as well. So
Well, he better be fucking listening. I tell you that.
he
Nothing.
better be listening.
Uh,
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah. And then
other
we
things. Oh, go on, go on, go on, go on.
oh well go on. I was because I was going to move on, but yeah, no, we can. Yeah.
I was just gonna say other things in episode one. Listen, I found it a bore, but I do love when the Doctor meets Dr. Constantine. I think that whole
Oh,
exchange is brilliant. Victor Meldrew himself, absolute legend, just being a grumpy doctor that's dying, but he's doing the right thing. Awesome. And fucking horrific as well. That transformation.
how? Oh my God! The whole thing going in. I mean, I don't like hospitals anyway. They creep me out. Something massive. And of course, he goes in there, and there's just bodies laying on the bed with the gas masks, and it's
Yeah.
just like, ooh, not a fan of that. And then, of course, you go over to the doctor, and he's, he's just like, oh, have a look at what's wrong, and then the doctor realizes it's the same injury over and over and over again, which of course
Yeah.
actually makes sense because I'm assuming it's the same injury that the child suffered when he got hit by the
Exactly.
uh
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
when he
exactly.
got hit
That
by
that
the
was the base template that the genes had to base
yeah.
humanity on. But yeah, absolutely just
And I just
fucking brutal.
it was the kind of he was playing that stubborn doctor, the guy that is literally fighting death on both fronts for, fighting death for other people and himself. And you're like, oh, okay. And then it's kind of like when he's a bit ill, I was sitting there thinking, okay, maybe he's kind of like, I don't know, maybe they're going to go on some kind of like outbreak or something, like kind of like cholera or, something that would happen. And of course, it's then when you see the scar on the back of the hand, and then he
Yeah.
sits down and he just puts his hand out, and you just sit and you're like, oh no, I don't want you
Yeah.
to die. Like, it's like that kind of thing when you're watching a zombie movie, and then one of the main characters just looks down and there's a pool of blood, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
they're
Sean's
gonna
mum
have
in
to,
Shaun of the Dead is the one that always
yeah.
gets it for me when she
Oh,
pulls the tissue out of
this
her
is,
sleeve and she's like bleeding.
oh,
But did you recognize the hospital, JP?
no, didn't.
It is
Should
the
I?
same fake hospital, Albion Hospital, as the one
Mhm.
with the little space pig from Aliens of London.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a cool little throwback there as well.
Yeah. Another little throwback as well. Apparently, it was around the corner from Limehouse, and as I watch it on the train, towards the end of the episode, was actually going through Limehouse Station, which really made me laugh. I was like, I probably could see it from here,
That's
But
quite cool.
yeah, we have not talked about enough about like kind of the transformation, just
Oh, mate, it is
Doctor into
horrific.
Beast. I mean, oh,
It's
it looks
very,
painful.
yeah, yeah, like literally throwing up a gas mask that then consumes your face.
Literally just, I mean, that A can't be comfortable. And just, it's just the fact that, like, it just molds in his face.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
But even
that's,
like, yeah, even the acting with the doctor and then the military guy at the end of the second episode, just watch the guy, mom, yeah, yeah. It's like fucking
oh, yeah,
this is mental. It's very in
yeah.
line with this series, and it's like it's blood churning moments, to be fair. Like, but did you notice, JP? Technically, this is the first episode or the first story where someone doesn't die.
Someone doesn't die.
Everybody lives, everybody comes back at the end, and they're not technically dead. They're just being overwritten by these genes. This is the first
Well,
story.
yeah, actually, in fact, because that makes sense. In fact, this is probably actually an episode where there's not actually technically a bad guy.
Yeah, and that, yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because the monster is actually just nanogenes that are there actually to be a kind of a help rather than a weapon. And I know Captain Jack's a bit of a con artist, but
Not a
again, he
villain,
kind
yeah,
of,
it's an accident.
yeah, he's not a villain. He redeems himself, and it's an accident. He didn't mean to unleash what we know now as nanogenes, but he didn't mean to unleash some kind of monster into London. So yeah, no, now you say that, and I suppose that's maybe probably the reason why everybody lived is because they were like, right, we don't actually have a villain in this episode, so what's the need to kill off everyone? I mean, again, is that a Moffat thing or?
Absolutely is that a Moffat thing. It's the most Moffat thing of all. There's not a villain, or the real villain is humanity or capitalism
Oh,
or something along
oh
those
God.
lines. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, very Moffat, very, very Moffat. But I mean, mate, enough on episode one. The most sort of important note I have on episode one, I actually jotted down in episode two, and it's that this recap at the beginning of episode two is more interesting than the entire episode one. It
No, you're
should have
mad.
just been that recap.
No, you're mad. The episode one, no, compared the two episodes, episode 9 and episode 10, episode 9 was far more interesting. My notes for episode
No
9
way, man.
were a
No
lot
way.
bigger than episode 10. Because I'm not saying episode 10 wasn't interesting, but episode 9 just laid the groundwork perfectly for it. And it's what I was saying at the start, where I feel like there was too much story for them to put it into one episode. But they sat down, they went, right, we're going to put it into two episodes, but there wasn't enough story to properly fill episode two. So they kind of stretched it out as much as they could, have the thing where Nancy gets captured and she's sitting there and she's going through a part interrogation and it just feels like they're kind of dragging it out a little bit. And
Oh, but
it's
mate,
probably Family Guy, actually, funny enough, does this the worst. I love Family Guy. I think it's very well written. Seth MacFarlane's an absolute talented genius. But now and again, they'll do these kind of what they call gags or sketches that
oh
just
yeah,
drag on
yeah.
for like three. And you know what I mean? Like
The
the most
worst one
famous
is
one.
when Peter hits his knee, right? Is that what you're gonna
Yeah,
say, and he sits there
exactly.
and for
And it's
about
just sat
5
there.
minutes he's just going,
Yeah. Ah.
right,
Like,
okay,
and
can we move on?
exactly. And I felt like that was kind of episode 10. They were just dragging things out a little bit more. And I just felt it was because they didn't have enough to finish the episode with. But
Mate, see, no,
notwithstanding,
I thought it was the other way around. I thought episode one just felt like filler. Rose on the balloon, that was a waste of time. Rose and Jack, okay, was interesting, but that could have been like one scene. It didn't have to be dragged out. The bit where they're on the table, the bit where they're okay. The hospital is good, but then there's a lot of filler there. I thought it was totally the other way around. And then episode two, he's action packed and everything's moving, and you've got the Doctor and Jack, and they're bouncing off each other. And I thought it was moving much quicker. Episode two. I'm so interested,
no.
like that you thought episode one was better.
Yeah, no, I just got a lot less notes on episode 2 than I do on episode 1. It just, I don't know, it
Interesting,
just,
mate. Interesting.
yeah, it was interesting. So of course the first note I've got was, of course, the Doctor and Captain Jack talk about a weapons factory,
Yes, yeah.
and he about with the Sonic, what was it? Sonic gun, Sonic cannon,
Sonic Blaster, I think, isn't
Sonic
it?
Blaster.
I
That's it. And
think.
I
I
think
think.
Sonic Blaster. Yeah. Um, and he says, yeah, no, I've seen the weapons factory. There's a brilliant banana factory there now. And Jack's like, wait, what? And he's just like, I really like bananas. They're a great source of potassium. And I just wrote, did the Doctor blow up the factory on purpose?
I would say so. Yeah. I don't
To
know
me
though.
that sounds like he blew it up on purpose and put a banana, like kind of a banana, what do you call it, garden, or a place that grows bananas.
Plantation, I think.
Plantation, that's it. Yeah, it just sounds like he just put one of those there instead, and I feel like he done that on purpose, but then it wasn't built upon, so I just don't know.
I'm pretty sure in Moffat's last episode they go back to that factory. I'm pretty sure, or it's definitely mentioned something along those lines. Yeah, it definitely gets called back in Moffat's last episode.
Interesting. Almost as interesting though as a line that Rose says. When he's stressed, he takes it out on other
Yeah,
species.
I love
Oh
that
my God. It's
racist
brilliant.
doctor.
I just, it's just, but it's not, he's just pointing out like why he's better than other species. He's just like, oh, this is that. And she says like, oh, you should hear when he cuts himself, like himself shaving or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah, how many times do you just do something and it's like mildly inconvenient? Like, I don't know, stub your toe or something like that. And you come out and you just come out with some just, I don't know, just random words. And then it makes you feel better. And then you forget about stubbing your toe.
Yeah, I agree. With me being in Dubai, it's when you first get in your car, it's red hot, AC hasn't quite
Oh,
kicked in yet, and you get stuck in traffic. And I find I'm so fucking, why is my life like this? I fucking hate my life. It's too hot, it's too much traffic. And then the AC kicks in, and then you're like, okay, that was unnecessary. That was probably unnecessary.
yeah, but it's just like that little burst. But that was very interesting though. And again, I'm not like it's another interesting point on the Doctor's character because I would have thought, because what you said, it is technically the Doctor technically being, well, it's not racist, but it's more speciest, I guess. Speciest.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what I mean, like, yeah, but you know what I mean, like the kind of, and I wouldn't have thought the Doctor would have been like that. I would have thought he'd have been more educated, maybe, I guess.
Well,
But
this
then,
is this is an issue that a
yeah,
lot of people have with David Tennant. It's one of his biggest criticisms, and Christopher Eccleston by proxy, is that they're too human. And I think this is why I like Peter Capaldi so much, is that you can tell Peter Capaldi and Matt Smith, to be fair, that they're aliens. Whereas, again, Chris and David, they are like, you forget that they're aliens, right?
yeah. I mean, it's what I said, about the Doctor being very, almost very British right at the start of the episode. Oh, it's totally fine with the
Yeah,
explosions going off.
exactly, exactly.
That's not really something you'd expect. And I mean, I don't get me wrong, aliens could be, kind of the same as the British, but it's a very British thing. It's a very kind of human thing to be doing. And no, yeah, and I get that. I could see that. I mean, I've not seen. Well, Christopher Eccleston's the only Doctor I've sat down and watched, so I don't really have an opinion. But it's going to be interesting to see kind of when we do get to David Tennant and Matt Smith, not Christopher Eccleston. Who's your favourite one?
Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker, yeah,
That's the one. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when we get there. But yeah. So then we go to back to the child that, of course, is not strong enough to punch down a door that's made out of wood, a bit of glass, and a metal handle, to then goes full Kyle and just punches through a concrete wall.
Yeah.
I Yeah, that was an interesting one. I mean, they obviously make a point of, oh my God, he punched through a wall, but and the doctor does say that he's getting stronger, but it just was a bit random, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it took me by surprise as well. They obviously they explain it at the end of the episode, and it does make sense. They're designed to be soldiers and warriors. That's why they've got this added strength. But
Yeah,
at the time, I was like, "Fuck, where's this come from?" Jesus.
yeah, I know. It was just like, huh, okay, fair enough. And I guess they wanted to kind of up the threat a bit. Oh, suddenly it's not just a creepy thing that you can't let touch. You've got he can actually kill you as well, I guess. But yeah, it was just a bit random, really. Um, then we come to the thing that I really, really liked about episode 10, the whole thing. Dancers against non-dancers.
Right, what do you mean?
I just really like it. There's an interesting theory. I watch a lot of stuff from a channel who I think you watch as well, called New Rockstars. Shout out to New Rockstars, brilliant channel, brilliant
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
breakdowns. They do a lot of Marvel stuff, a lot of Star Wars, all that stuff. And there's a guy there, Eric Voss, and his main theory for the Marvel MC, like kind of just the MCU, is it's actually a story about dancers and non-dancers.
I hate all this shit.
I like it. I really like it
Oh,
actually.
it's
I think
such
and
nonsense.
it's just I suppose you could like the ending, where they're dancing, where they go to pick up Jack and they rescue Jack, and it's just so sweet that they're just dancing. Quite like that. I think yeah, it ties the episode in a nice bow. I think because you go from Rose dancing with Captain Jack, and Captain Jack going, oh, look at me, I'm very fancy, I'm very kind of elegant and everything like that, and the Doctor's a bit more ham-handed and everything, but then it shows that the Doctor can also dance as well.
Yeah, yeah. On that, we don't really talk about this too much, but the director for this episode, whose name I've totally forgotten, does an amazing job. That bit where the Doctor and Rose are, I don't know if they're dancing or if they're just like sharing an embrace whilst they're locked in that room. And then it
Hmm.
transitions, and even we don't realize as the viewer that, oh shit,
Yeah.
they're now in Jack's spaceship. I'm like, that was fucking brilliant. And then again, jumping ahead, but at the end, there's a very similar scene where Jack's having his last drink goodbye, and then the camera pans back through the ship, and then all of a sudden you're in the TARDIS. And again, like, I love that. This whole Dancers verse nonsense, but the actual directing of this
Oh,
episode, beautiful, beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful,
No, I like that. I
bellissimo.
like that. And of course, Jack makes a very good point. Oh, most people realize that they've been teleported onto a ship, so it obviously shows that there's a very, very good connection between Rose and the Doctor, and
Do
it's
you,
something we've.
God,
I was gonna say it's something we've seen time and time again. I mean, we had a whole conversation with Raquel, and we had a conversation last episode of Father's Day about what is the relationship between Rose and the Doctor, and honestly, I still don't know.
yeah, well, that I was going to say, do you now think it's starting to become a bit romantic? Because there's clearly some
There's
jealousy
got to
now,
be,
right?
yeah. There's got. I wouldn't even say it was jealousy. I just think it's more a kind of fate, really. And it's really weird because Rose obviously likes Captain Jack. He's very, um, you can just tell by the
He's
way that
quite
she's
seductive.
very,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, no, for sure. And I don't know. I just feel like the Doctor almost got a bit jealous. Maybe I
yeah.
suppose, yeah, what you said about being jealous. Yeah, I suppose the Doctor got a little bit jealous, but I just feel like it's just something that comes naturally between the Doctor and Rose because he just goes, I just remembered I know how to dance, and then that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Whereas like Jack, genuinely, he has to try with the champagne and the impressive ship that's got the cloaking thing and buy a Big Ben. Whereas the Doctor just is the Doctor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that totally.
But I don't know. It's a very, very interesting thing, and of course we saw the Doctor wingman in Rose a couple of episodes in the long game. So obviously, I don't know. I mean, he's obviously interested, but is he interested? I mean, because if you was, say if you're there and you're trying to chat to you know, you're trying to chat up a girl or something like that, and you're interested and you're genuinely interested, you're not going to help wingman somebody for her, are you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like,
It's so strange. I almost feel like it's a professional relationship. You know what I mean? They know that they probably shouldn't, but that doesn't mean there's not something there.
yeah, yeah, like in a workplace, or more like a
Like at a
sort of.
workplace, yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm thinking more
you know,
like a fucking therapist and a patient, right? He's got that duty of care.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, no, actually, yeah.
But anyway, only 3 episodes left to find out what happens.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's something that just, you know, I'm still every episode I watch, I'm still toying with the idea. I can see either side. I can see it being kind of an actual, you know, kind of an actual relationship or a friendship. I can see either side. It's very. I don't think I've ever been on the fence about something as much as what the Doctor and Rose are. But we'll see. We'll see. Um, Convenient nanogenes, though, wouldn't it?
I think it's fine because that probably will exist soon, won't it?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, look, you know, it's kind of it's almost like what Star Trek does. You know, it's so far in the future that you just go, it could happen,
Yeah, exactly.
and
51st
you can't
century. Who
question it
knows?
because it could happen. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, well, I mean, you look at kind of how far medical technology's come in the past what 150 years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You
Well,
know,
even look at
so
it from 1941, how different it's become.
yeah, no, that's true. That's true. You know, so yeah, so it's just I don't know. It did feel like a kind of almost like a convenient plot point. But at the same time, though, I can't argue too much because it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but we then go on to, of course, another what you've now identified as a Moffat thing, where they're obviously scouting out the area, and it's just when just he just goes, "You're not his type,"
Yeah, yeah. And then he just goes over and starts flirting.
and he just goes over, and I'm just like, ah, okay. And you can actually, I don't know if it was scripted or whether it was unscripted, but you can see Rose absolutely cracking up in the background.
Yes, yes.
And
I saw that.
I genuinely think it's when he starts walking away, and I don't know if that was something that was scripted or whether that was Billy Piper just not being able to just contain her laughter from what Chris, because I think it's something that Krista Eccleston says, oh, he's just a 51st century guy or something like that.
Yeah. I
And
think
I'm not
thinking,
sure.
go on.
Go on.
I think that's one of the instances of where John Barrowman, the actor, drops his trousers and just moons them. I think that's what that is. I think that's what's happening there.
Gotcha. Oh, well, no, because he's in the foreground.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's walking towards the camera. You see him walking. I'm sure of it. I'll have
Oh,
to watch it
maybe not
back.
then. Maybe not. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's just, you know, but it just Billy Piper's reaction though of just absolutely, and that's why it was so kind of almost realistic and human. I don't think it was scripted because she's just absolutely cracking up, and it's just brilliant. I mean, you know, where I think the doctor's going, oh yeah, we're just, you know, you humans, you just went out and just seek life and did what come natural, and it was just like I just put
I
down
love
seek
that.
new
Yeah, I
life
love
and
that.
clap alien cheeks. You know, it's just
Yeah.
that's it. I was just like, love it, brilliant. You know,
You would though, wouldn't you?
um,
I'd have a go on an alien.
yeah. I mean, as long as it was safe.
It would depend what the alien looked like as well, to be fair. I wouldn't have a go on a Slovene, for an example.
I I never got the wooden bird in episode two,
Yeah,
but
yeah, fact. Yeah.
I'm not saying it. Again, I say kind of about safe and everything. You know, you know they always
Oh,
say,
could
yeah,
you
they kind
imagine
of
the
don't.
splinters you'd get?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Or what if it's acidic or something? You genuinely you'd have to be so careful. Like, yeah. Have you ever seen The Boys?
I think I watched season 1 and that was about it.
Oh, mate, you need to watch The Boys. It's so fucked up, but it's so funny. And it's just a bit where he's just like, yeah, no, I was, you know, with this girl and she had frost powers, and then we're going at it, and she sneezed and she froze.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just like, no, no, that's no. Oh dear. Anyway, let's move swiftly on before I completely cringe myself out. Um, yeah, I then we go back to Nancy, and she's like, "Oh, tell me the full story." Like when Rose is like, "Oh, I can't really say who we are and everything like that." And Nancy's like, "Oh, well, you've got to tell me the full story. I need to trust you." And I'm like,
Yeah, you fucking
"See,
hypocrite.
yeah,
Yeah.
this whole
Fucking.
episode could have been avoided if you had just gone, yeah, I'm your mum."
Yeah, this whole episode is over in the first scene if you just give your child a sodding hug.
Yep. Or when, the doctor goes, "Why shouldn't I answer the phone?" She goes, "Well, my son, who's now, quite literally sprouted a gas mask and has come back from the dead, is walking around Blitz London going, 'Where's my mummy?' And every person he touches turns into him."
Yeah,
It could have
exactly.
been avoided.
But just do me a favor and just don't tell him I'm his mum.
Yep. Oh,
It'll
yeah.
be
No,
fine. There
that's
you
it.
go. Problem solved.
Oh dear. Communication, guys. This is the key thing that we're saying. These two episodes, communication is key. That goes for relationships, work, sport, gaming, the whole lot. Communication's key. It's just, you know, I'm expecting kind of, Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, someone just to come in and just go, "Martha,
Yeah, yeah,
save Martha."
exactly.
Again,
Yeah.
another film that could have been ended by decent communication, but by the by.
Or the
Um,
world's greatest detective looking up and realizing that Clark Kent's mum's name is Martha.
oh,
Like, let's not get into it. Let's not get into it. The resolution of this episode, does the doctor just wing it? I think that's what's happening, right? He goes, just give him a hug and just hopefully the nano genes will pick you up as the mother. But I don't know actually if they will. I'm sort of just hoping here,
it,
fingers crossed. I'm not looking,
it,
just do it.
yeah, it felt like a kind of almost like a calculated gamble.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like
exactly.
it was almost like a kind of it, like an intelligent guess,
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly, exactly. It's
You know, it's
like picking the middle answer in a multiple choice question.
yeah, no, exactly that. I did like the ending though. I preferred the ending of this to episode 3, where it was just kind of, and episode 6 Dalek as well, where it was just washed away and that was it. Kind of where the board, I guess you call it, of kind of undead people, yeah, kind of, coming in and they're getting closer, and we know the bomb's coming down to destroy it, and there's a beeping and everything. It was more tense.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
felt
yeah,
like
yeah.
a peak in this episode, which I preferred, definitely preferred. Um, yeah, no, it was interesting, and as you say, it did kind of feel like the Doctor winged it a little bit. Um,
And then,
but
of course,
yeah,
everybody lives, which
everybody
again is
lives.
quite a Moffat-y thing.
Yeah, I mean, even still, I'm not sure. Well, the only thing I couldn't work out was, of course, Captain Jack gets the bomb in a kind of a stasis beam.
Yeah.
Surely he could just drop it in the sea.
Yeah, or drop it on the bomb site that's just gone off that is officially like, yeah, I think he's sat.
I,
Yeah, it was a little weak, but I get it from a
I,
narrative point of view.
yeah, I just, I suppose it's his redemption curve and everything like that. But I just, for the time it took him to get to space, or even just outside, surely he could have just dropped it in the sea. I don't.
Even the Thames, if you don't want to go that far, or just drop it on
Yeah,
something else that's just recently blown up. Who gives a fuck?
yeah, no, that's it. That was the only kind of thing. But I did like the redemption arc, that he was willing to, sacrifice himself and make right to what he did wrong, and all that stuff. I like that. I thought that was
Yeah.
good. Um, the interesting thing though in that kind of chat with the onboard computer was
Yes.
he says he's already been sentenced to death.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's that about? I mean, that's you can't really do a lot more wrong than being sentenced to death.
Yeah.
That's why it's called the capital punishment, is there is nothing worse that they can do.
I
I mean, what did
think
he
it's
do?
implied that it's because he ditched the time agency after he found out that there'd been a raise in his memories. So I think it's
Mm,
supposed to be like, okay, but it's quite a noble thing. He's just been done by society. But
yeah,
yeah, not 100% sure. But yeah, I
I
mean,
get it.
we've got another pseudo companion now. What are your
Yep.
overall thoughts on Jack?
I quite like him. I mean, he's got the best name in the business, so I'm biased anyway to begin with. But no, I quite like him. He's an interesting character. I think he adds a new like a new dimension to just everything in general, the whole story, because every single companion we've had has almost been, with the exception of Rose, has almost been almost like a 2D character
Yeah.
where they're very good for the story there and then in that time frame, in that location, and that's it. But they can't really. There's no like go between.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
Jack is, you can actually see Jack can crop up anywhere, anytime, any place. That's it. And I think that kind of adds a whole, as I say, a whole new dimension to Doctor Who in general. You know, there is another person and another mysterious group of people who can do what the Doctor does,
Ooh,
which I
yeah.
quite like. You know, and I like that. It kind of, you suddenly go from having a kind of just a bunch of stories that are bashed together and called a series to suddenly there's a bigger story in general,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I
Building
really
the
like.
universe. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's it. No, I really, really, really like that, and I think he's, you know, it's a very interesting character. As I say, there are a few bits that maybe wouldn't survive today, and you know, kind of off of, you know, the actual screen and everything. I'm not sure. You know, I knew, what was his name, John Barrymore or whatever his name. I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
reading the stuff about him, but I didn't realize it was him. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think that
Oh.
pretty much wraps up the episode. I have just three more points that I want to say.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
actual ending, the last sort of 15, 30 seconds, whatever it is the cringiest shit I've ever seen in my life. That whole bit where
Oh,
I've just remembered how to die. Oh,
I quite
Jesus.
like that.
Oh, it was so fucking awful. And then the TARDIS starts throwing disco lights. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I
What
don't
a
know.
sour taste to leave you on. But
I don't
just
know.
before that, is Doctor Who Santa Claus? Is that confirmed?
Oh, I think it is confirmed. You know,
Like, that's weird if it's
a
not,
red
right?
bicycle. I mean, like that's
Yeah.
pretty. But I suppose it would make sense because at the end of the day, everybody knows that Santa does, you know, an entire lap of all the kids in the world in one night.
Yeah.
He's
How else would you
got.
do it without a time machine?
You got to bend time. I'm sorry, but you got to bend time.
So I thought that was quite interesting. And then my other absolute favorite line is just when they're still on the battlefield and everybody's come back to life, and that little old lady wobbles over. And she
Oh
goes, I'm
yeah.
feeling much better. And he's like, well, I'm a good doctor. He goes, my leg's grown back. And he's just like, well, are you sure you counted right? There's a war happening.
There's a
Like,
war
this is a
going on.
you issue,
I
not
love it.
me.
I love it. And I just love the whole kind of, the doctor knew how good that doctor was as a person. You know, he
Yeah,
genuinely put
exactly.
his life
Exactly.
on the line to just save people and give them, you know, and even still, he just says, there's nothing I can do just apart from make them comfortable.
Yeah.
And I love how the doctor just goes, this is your time. This is not my time. This is your time. And
Yeah.
I really
Well
like that.
deserved.
You know, there's nothing worse than a false hero.
Yeah. No, I
And I just
totally
liked
agree
it.
there.
I liked it. But yeah, no, a very good set of episodes. I don't know how you didn't like them. I really, really liked them. I thought they were really good. They were creepy, they were gruesome, they were wholesome, great character development. I love them.
I think it's tied as my least favorite episode with episode three.
Interesting. Very,
Yeah.
very interesting. So we are kind of pressing for time. Next time,
What did you think?
I've put one note. I've put, oh, good. The fuckers who I can't remember the names of are back, in brackets, in Cardiff.
Come on, give it. I did actually. You sent me your notes, and I realized at the top you've put
Oh, yeah.
chew as in
Tallulah.
T,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Chula. Yeah.
chula, which is actually
I'm
wrong.
not,
It's chew, like a choo choo train. It's chula.
yeah, but no, to me, that's a Chula. That's how I would pronounce that. I say as I say. I'm not making that mistake again. All right. The Slovene are not going to get the better
Yes,
of
you've
me
got
this time.
it. You've
No,
got
I've got
it.
this because I wrote it down after and I didn't
The
put it in the notes
Slytherin are
because I
back.
didn't. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Let's play a drinking game of how many times I get the name wrong
I
in next week's episode.
love that. Excited for
Uh,
next week, or
I don't know. I thought the Slovene. It was an interesting story, but I don't know. I thought they were dead, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they bring them back anyway. And
yeah,
nuclear power, like power plants in Cardiff.
exactly. Yeah. Speaking of, did you catch the Easter egg this episode?
No, not a clue.
Just,
Not
I
a
will give
clue.
you a
Yeah,
clue. It wasn't even in English.
it wasn't in English.
They translated it to German in this episode.
Oh, damn.
I know.
Oh,
So
big German, isn't it?
gutted you missed that, but you'll be pleased to know next week is where we do get the big reveal.
Oh, okay. I'm excited for that. That is
Yeah.
definitely what I'm excited for because I can't wait for just that moment. I'm looking forward to that. I do like that.
No, it's going to be good. So
But
penultimate episode next week, and then we're into the finale. So only 2 weeks left of season 1, mate.
interesting. It's been a ride. It's been a ride that we'll continue. Anyway, on that note though, thank you very much for listening, guys. It has been brilliant 2 episodes. I liked them. I thought they were really, really good. But Josh, your final thoughts?
They're fine. They're fine. You could probably skip episode 1 and start on the second episode. But yeah, guys, we are running very low on time. So thank you for listening. Thanks for all your engagement. Like, comment, subscribe, join the fantasy football. JP, I will catch you next week. And thanks for listening. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next week for episode 11.
Adios, amigos.